ICE said its officers opened fire to protect themselves. The men inside the van say no one was ever in danger. Now, two completely different accounts of the same shooting are colliding. And the question at the center of them is becoming impossible to ignore. Did ICE kill the wrong man? ICE killed the wrong man. New questions are emerging over the death of Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, the man fatally shot by an ICE officer in Houston, after 3 men who were in the vehicle with him contradicted the federal agency's version of events. The Department of Homeland Security had earlier said Salgado Araujo, a 52-year-old Mexican national, rammed a law enforcement vehicle and ignored verbal commands before an officer opened fire in self-defense. But the men detained alongside the victim insist that account is untrue.
At no point did they use the van to ram into the ICE agents, and at no point were these ICE agents' lives ever in any danger.
According to the witnesses' written statements, an unmarked vehicle followed their work van before cutting in front of them and forcing a U-turn. ICE vehicles then closed in from both sides on a road where they were traveling at barely 5 miles an hour, and that an officer opened fire moments after stepping out, without the van ever moving towards him.
I am calling for a full investigation into the events that transpired yesterday, July 7th. He did not deserve to die. He did not deserve to be reduced to a headline of Mexican man shot and killed by ICE. He deserved to live a quiet life as Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, a husband, a father, and a job creator for dozens of men who also wanted the American dream.
Araujo's brother, Victor, who was in the passenger seat, described the moment the shots were fired.
Salgado was able to stop the van and place it in park, the men said, but the officer or officers continued to unload additional rounds from the sides of the vehicle. When he shot my brother, the gun was in front of my face.
DHS has since acknowledged that Araujo was not the intended target of the operation, saying officers were pursuing 2 other individuals when they mistook his van for the vehicle they were watching. None of the officers involved were wearing body cameras, a gap the department has blamed on funding disruptions caused by recent government shutdowns.
At this moment, there's no justice. When they show me the person really tried to run over the policeman, then I say I was wrong. But at this moment, I think we all alone. That's the way a lot of people feel. We don't supposed to be treated like that.
The shooting has drawn condemnation from lawmakers and immigrant rights groups, with calls growing for an independent inquiry. The FBI, the DHS Office of the Inspector General, and the Harris County District Attorney's Office are all now investigating.
We are a city of undocumented immigrants. They are our neighbors. Amen. They are our family. They are business owners, and they deserve to be treated with humanity and with dignity. We've seen what happened to Alex Preddy. We've seen what happened to Renee Good. We've seen the habits of ICE.
As the victim's family fights for justice, a GoFundMe organized for his wife and 3 sons has raised over $350,000 towards its $500,000 goal, with organizers saying the funds will cover funeral and legal costs as the family continues to wait for answers. A routine immigration operation has turned into another deadly confrontation in the United States, raising fresh questions about the use of force by federal immigration agents. As the Trump administration intensifies its nationwide deportation crackdown, a fatal shooting in Houston has become the latest flashpoint in an increasingly controversial campaign. A U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, agent fatally shot a man during an attempted arrest on Tuesday morning in Houston. The agency identified the deceased as Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, describing him as a Mexican national and an illegal alien who was the target of a planned enforcement operation. According to ICE, officers stopped Salgado Araujo shortly before 7 o'clock in the morning as part of a targeted immigration operation.
Salgado rammed an ICE law enforcement vehicle, refused to follow multiple verbal commands, and weaponized his vehicle in an attempt to run over an ICE law enforcement officer. The confrontation resulted in our officer firing his weapon in self-defense, striking the driver, who was transported to a hospital where he died of his injuries.
However, the account given by his family paints a very different picture. His son, Lorenzo Salgado, told Spanish-language broadcaster Telemundo Houston that his father had simply been out that morning looking for workers to hire in the area. Video captured by a passing motorist and broadcast by Houston television station KRIV showed 2 ICE agents kneeling over a man lying in the street beside a white van. On the opposite side of the vehicle, 2 other men could be seen lying on the ground in handcuffs. The FBI has now taken charge of the investigation. The Houston shooting comes as ICE dramatically increases arrests across the country. According to people familiar with the matter, immigration officers detained around 2,000 migrants each day last week. Since President Donald Trump began his second term in January 2025 and ordered large-scale deportation sweeps, at least 6 people have been shot and killed by federal immigration officers. Several previous cases have also fueled controversy. In multiple incidents, official accounts issued by immigration authorities were later challenged by video evidence. Those include the shooting of Marimar Martinez near Chicago, where charges were eventually dropped, and the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Pretty in Minneapolis, where government claims were later contradicted by footage. Civil rights organizations are now demanding greater accountability. The Texas Civil Rights Project has called for full transparency, an independent investigation and scrutiny of whether racial profiling played any role. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia has also demanded that all available footage, communications, and evidence be preserved and independently reviewed. As federal authorities continue expanding immigration enforcement across the United States, the shooting in Houston is likely to intensify the debate over whether public safety operations are becoming increasingly defined by deadly force rather than accountability. A disturbing rise in deaths inside America's immigration detention system is raising serious questions about conditions inside ICE facilities under Donald Trump's renewed deportation crackdown. An Associated Press investigation has now uncovered an unprecedented spike in suicides among detainees, with experts warning that serious failures in oversight, mental health care and monitoring may be pushing vulnerable migrants toward tragedy. One of those detainees was Brian Rio Garzon, a Colombian migrant being held in a Missouri jail after Immigration and Customs Enforcement took him into custody in March 2025. By April, Rio was isolated inside his cell after contracting COVID-19. According to jail records,
he was suffering from fever and chills while repeatedly requesting mental health treatment. Staff also stopped him from making his regular nightly phone calls to his mother because of infection precautions.
In handwritten notes written in Spanish, Rio pleaded with guards to let him speak to her. He wrote,
"I feel in my heart that she's very worried about me."
According to records reviewed by the Associated Press, a guard collected the note and walked away. Less than an hour later, Rio was found unconscious in his cell. An autopsy later ruled that he had taken his own life. Rio's death became the first in what public health experts now describe as an alarming surge in suicides inside ICE detention facilities. According to the Associated Press investigation, at least 10 detainees have died by suicide since Donald Trump returned to office in January 2025. Since October alone, 7 deaths have already been classified as suicides, the highest annual total recorded in ICE history. Historically, ICE detention facilities usually recorded either 1 or no suicide deaths per year. Experts say the increase far exceeds the rise in the detainee population itself. Dr. Sanjay Basu, an epidemiologist at the University of California, San Francisco, described the rise as deeply alarming.
Something is going profoundly wrong from any kind of public health or mental health perspective.
The Associated Press found that 9 of the 10 detainees who died were Hispanic men, while one was a Chinese national. Their average age was just 32 years old. 7 of the 10 reportedly had no history of violent crime in the United States. The suicides now account for nearly 1/5 of all 51 deaths recorded in ICE custody since January 2025. Experts say many of the deaths, including non-suicide cases, may have been preventable with timely medical treatment and proper monitoring. The Department of Homeland Security defended ICE procedures, with Acting Assistant Secretary Lauren Bees saying,
"Suicide deaths in custody remain extremely rare."
She stated that detainees receive comprehensive health care, including mental health services, and that staff receive annual suicide prevention training. However, the Associated Press investigation found repeated violations of ICE's own detention standards across facilities nationwide. The report said staff often ignored signs of mental distress, delayed treatment, failed to monitor at-risk detainees, and allowed access to materials that could be used for self-harm. In several cases, detainees experiencing severe psychological distress were placed in isolation, something experts warn can intensify feelings of fear, humiliation, and helplessness. Among the victims was 19-year-old Mexican national Leo Cruz Silva, who reportedly suffered hallucinations and severe mental distress inside a Missouri jail. Despite clear warning signs, records show treatment was delayed. He was found dead in his cell on the 3rd day. The deaths come as ICE detention numbers have surged by 50% during Trump's second term, reaching around 60,000 detainees nationwide.